A very warm welcome to Culinary Canvas, a podcast by Chef Middle East. Now today we have a powerhouse duo, titans of the hospitality industry. First of all, we welcome Steve Pyle, the CEO of Chef Middle East. Secondly, Rizwan Kassim, who is the CEO of Paris Society and Ennismore F&B platform. Gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the show. Now, the first question, and Steve, I'm going to start off with you. Obviously, it's been unprecedented times. Now, what changes in your thinking? What do you have to do when something like this happens?
Yeah, I think unprecedented is a good word. It's kind of become a little bit of a cliche, but I think the mindset for us was really to I think first consideration is, are our people safe? But you go from a mentality of optimization, so everything has to be optimized, to what can I protect or what do I have to protect, so managing risk. And I think, we were talking about, I guess people first, are they safe? And then thinking about, rather than develop specific plans, because I think they change almost on the hour, we were thinking about principles that we could kind of really govern how we would think about what we had to face going forward. So we were talking about, obviously, people and being connected to people. So not just our own people, but all the customer, the external stakeholder, the supply chain. Being clear in terms of how we wanted to communicate, and being present for people. So those were the kind of principles, if you like, that we tried to establish and adopt so that we had clarity about how we wanted to kind of play forward or respond to whatever it was that we felt we might face after the initial kind of outbreak of the conflict.
And Rizwan, for yourself, with such a large hospitality group, what was going through your mind when this happened?
I'm trying to take a step back on the situation, and the reality is unprecedented. It happened quite often in our industry. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we are in the middle of the COVID, but it can be geopolitical, it can be a customer behavior, it can be an economical cycle. We have to be ready for this kind of movement. So yes, it's a scary time. Yes, it's a difficult situation, but in our industry, and I think it's not related only to my group, in all hospitality between the hotels and restaurant and all this kind of industry, we start to be used to that. My main target was to find and to have clarity. Clarity for the people that working with me, but clarity also on how we will behave in front of a customer with many parameters, pricing, booking, different kind of behavior that we can show to our different customer in the different country that we are in the GCC. So that was the main focus for us.
But what was the initial sort of leadership strategy between yourself and your top leaders? I mean, was it reactive? How did that work?
First, I think we need to be a little honest with the situation, and the reactivity is coming by the honesty and the kind of scanning of what you can do on this situation. The reactivity, I rather have a good reaction, but fast, than a very good decision, but will take some time. And for me, what was important was to make sure that we analyze the data that we had. We try to have some instinct to see the future and to imagine what we can be done. But in the meantime, we need to be honest with the staff and our suppliers and be very proactive on what we can achieve or not during these difficult times.
And Steve, would you say it was the same thing amongst the top leadership within the business?
Yes and no. I think it's interesting what Rizwan's saying. I think we were trying to, I guess, absorb a lot of information, and our business, just like Rizwan's business, when you have calm sea, most of the decisions you make are based on the data. When you're faced with a storm, you have almost like a slightly different approach, because almost a storm brings a different set of challenge. In the picture you're looking at, you almost have to interpret and judge in a slightly different ways rather than base the decision based on a calm sea, because a storm is a different picture. I think that we tried to break decisions that we thought were reversible and make those decisions very quickly. Because if we made a mistake, we were, big and ugly enough to be able to say, okay, look, we can reverse from that and go again. And on the stuff that we thought might be irreversible, we were just trying to take a breath and really gather as much information as we can, whether it be from customer, from the consumer, from external stakeholders, to give us a kind of a more rounded picture of how we might play things forward. So very similar in some ways, but also, we were trying to break the information we had into two parts, so the kind of reversible and the irreversible, really.
As you both said, there were a lot of moving parts during that time. Both of you have extremely large teams to deal with, customers, so on and so forth. But then when you have such a complex decision to make, there are internal pressures and there are external pressures to deal with. Now, Rizwan, for you personally, how did you deal with both of those at the same time, internal as well as external pressures?
Look, the internal pressure there's not many internal pressure. We have the people working with us and the suppliers and stakeholders that are there next to us. For the people working with us, I think we need to be, and they are looking for having some trust on the leadership. And this is where I'm trying to be efficient on that, and being honest, bring them around the table, tell them the truth. I think there's nothing easier than saying the truth. This is the kind of difficult time that we will go through. This is this kind of decision that I need to do. And I think they receive this part quite well. Same thing for the supplier. I think we are in the same boat, by the way. So it's easy to reach an agreement, a mutual discussion, or something that will bring us to the same path. In the external side, the only thing is we need to perform and do things better in our business. We are an hospitality business. The main business for us is people, it's customer. And the easiest part is to improve the quality of what we are doing, to improve the services, improve what we can do. That it's in front of the customer. And maybe the last part is the partners and my partners in the business. But for me, it was quite easy. Ennismore, that are my partners in the business, and Accor, they are in the hospitality business. So everything that I'm doing, they understand, and they improve what I'm doing. They give me a lot of confidence and a lot of comfort on my decision. And I thought I was a strong leader, but next to them, I learned a lot of things on the leadership.
What type of things?
First, they really emphasize that all business is around people. And Sébastien Bazin, the CEO of Accor, or Gaurav Bhushan, the CEO of Ennismore, when everything starts, they put the people in front of the matters. The people are the most important things that we need to take care of. And I learned that next to them because for me, I have 3,000 people. They have 10,000, hundreds of thousands people. And I'm doing that at my level. But when you see people and leaders and partners next to you that can do that at a bigger scale, it's really inspiring.
And what I want to note, Rizwan, is you said something very interesting, is that obviously, the people were at the heart of what you're doing. But at the same time, the business had to pivot because you have to listen to customers. At the same time, there's something really complex going on geopolitically. So, and I'll give you an example. You have everybody's favorite Shea Wham, right? And Hadrian is an exceptionally talented chef. And he's started immediately to do sort of these steak frite nights and things like that. And the community got behind them immediately. Is that what you had to do for the rest of those businesses?
I think every restaurant has its own strategy, its own story, and the way that they can interact with our customer. We had few brands that are international brands. And the way that we treat them and the way that we receive or not customer or tourists inside this business drive us in something different. So right. Shea Wham is a very local customer base, anchor in the community. So Adrien has these facilities and the freedom to make sure that he can adapt himself to the customer base and the client that he have that is mainly locals. You have few other restaurants like Gigi or Maison FK that are more driven or have the cherry on the cake is always the tourist element. And that it's something super interesting and super difficult at the same time because you need to regain the trust of the local community and make sure that you continue to have this international mindset to make sure that when the tourists will be back, we'll be able to accommodate them and give them what they are looking for.
Steve, for yourself, considering, again, for the business during this time that the stakes are so high, how personally, and professionally, were you able to balance, instinct, experience, and the data that was being given to you?
And Rizwan touched on this a little bit at the beginning of this conversation. I think we learned a lot of lessons during COVID. And that, in a lot of ways, not just myself, but the senior team learned a lot of lessons that were valuable in this case. I think, transparency and clarity with your own people is really important. Sometimes you have to deliver bad news, but I think presence and transparency are really important because they want to feel like the ship is being steered with some measure of control, even though the external world looks like it's difficult to navigate. So those pieces, I think, we learned and we applied, and it was trying to communicate as often as possible, as clearly as possible, without becoming overbearing or overloading people with information that was really irrelevant for them. I think it's almost people want. I think they want to be communicated with directly rather than be comforted. And what I mean by that is that they would rather be told, even if it's difficult messages that have to be conveyed, they would rather be told the truth than be told, look, everything's going to be okay if we cross our fingers. So I think that bare knuckle honesty piece is really important. And I think with the external stakeholders, the important thing is, and there's lots of parallels, I think, with what Rizwan's just described, but I think this being connected, even though we had, we were going into some kitchens to talk to guys behind the pass, and they had, particularly in those first couple of weeks, there was nobody in some of these operations. So just staying connected. Are you okay? What can we do? How do we make sure that we can work together to try and figure out a way to kind of get through this together? So I think some of those pieces were really, really important, and I think all credit to the teams, because I think they did that very, very well, and I think that in the long run stands us in reasonably good stead, because I think people will remember how they're treated in difficult times. A number of different people whom we're connected to who've been through these types of situations in different parts of the world. So people whom we work with, or we are connected to through the business, and being able to tap into their experience is also super important, because it gives you a kind of a temperature check on the direction you're taking, whether it's you need to adjust or you're pointing in the right direction.
And Rizwan, with your particular organisation, as you said, 3,000 people, and that's a very large number. But I would like to understand from your point of view, how do you build trust? As you said, it's and Steve said it quite rightly. When it's calm seas, very easy, all right. But when you have a particular huge storm, as we currently went through, and you need to communicate that not just to your leadership team, but also to amongst the smaller juniors. How did you build that trust?
We have great leaders in the organization. I have great GM chefs, people that understand the business, understand the challenges. So on my side, very personally, I meet them every month. We gather, it's around 150 people, and we talk. And I'm telling them the truth. This is the numbers. This is what we want to achieve. This is where it's difficult. This is the effort that you will have to be done by the company or the team. And I think people understand, it's yes, it's a different time. In the COVID, we were all in the same basket. Today, it's just a region, so people are free to travel and to have different experience. But there's few things that retain them in the UAE: the trust on the country, the leadership of the country, the decision that has been made by them, that give them a lot of comfort. I think we all realize, all of us, that traveling a few weeks left and right, that home is a nice place. And I think the impression that I can have is the same impression that have the team, So we tell them the truth. We don't hide anything. My monthly reporting is involved everyone. GM, chef, marketing, everyone is involved on the financial numbers. So that's help, because they understand that, and they understand when it's a good moment and when it's a difficult time. So it was quite easy to connect with them, give them this trust. And I think for me it's the most important leadership skills. People need to trust in what you are building. Yes, in the difficult time, it's your role and your duty is to give them a vision and to tell them this is the long-term vision, this is where we are going, and help them to navigate in these troubled moments. But more or less, I feel super lucky, and we have a kind of quite a strong relation between all the organizations. So everything that we had to maneuver in the region, the Europe team help us. We send people outside to help in the other countries that been welcomed by the others. So we are in a good shape, to be honest, and we are quite a little more pessimistic, but we are going back to something that is more normal, and that doesn't lie. The data, the numbers, everything. You can say whatever you want to your team, but they are on the floor, they're on the ground, they are cooking, they are serving. They know how many people you have in your restaurant, and they can feel where the direction is going.
But when you have, and this is a question for the both of you, when you have those particularly tough decisions or conversations, to have on a one-to-one basis, how do you still manage to keep the confidence of the team, keep the confidence of the people that you're speaking to, and maintain that trust? Steve, I'll go with you first.
Look, I think in my mind, this is the basis for those types of decisions where you're making decisions about individuals, and you're trying to balance that with the for the good of the team or the collective. Those messages are never easy to deliver, but I think if you do it in the right way, I always think about, tough messages. You have to weigh them carefully, and I think the message, if it's the truth, and it's clear why you're delivering that message, I think you can. You have to deliver that. You have to be able to deliver it personally. I think difficult messages are one of those pieces that, unless you're prepared to deliver it personally, then you probably shouldn't deliver it. And I guess that is one of the pieces that rests fairly heavily on leaders' shoulders. But unfortunately, that's the nature of the job, and it is trying to make sure that without it becoming personalised, for the people who remain in the business, that they understand why some of those decisions have been made. It's clear, it's truth based, it's taken as a message that this is about trying to sustain the business and their livelihoods for the long term.
And Rizwan, for yourself, when you're having those sort of types of conversations with your CFO and people like this, how challenging can that be?
So I will give you a small story that happened to me before to go to my team and my CFO. So obviously I'm going to my partners. And the first few days I was really worried. So I arrived to the office, worried, going next to my partners and the group CEO of Ennismore, Gaurav. And it changed everything. So I'm talking about leadership, but it's coming from the group CEO. I say, but don't be worried. We're an international organization. Middle East is part of our business. Difficult time create opportunities. Don't be worried. We are here.
When you walked out of that meeting, how did you feel?
It's very difficult to say that. It's very difficult. No, but you want, yes, let's buy a company, let's buy something, you know, we have difficult times, opportunities there, we are there, let's go, you know. So that's the truth. That's something that was built by them, super strong, very diversified, stabilized. So when you are part of an organization like that, you don't fear the short-term moments.
Sure.
So for me, it was easy to go back to my team with all the strength, the courage, and the forces that I received. And it was easy to go back to my CFO. And yes, we are taking strong decisions. Yes, I'm managing my vertical and my business and the F&B but at the same time, when you have discomfort, and it's two different things. During the COVID, I was alone. It was my own business, and the business is very different. Your business is how I make sure that I don't lose money, because it's your business. You don't need to present any numbers to anyone, and it's a different mindset. And to be very, I will not go on holidays 2 weeks. I will go 1 week, but I will still survive in my business. When you are part of this big organization, you have no choice than deliver what you announce and what you say. But at the same time, when you have this stability and when you are strong and when you feel this confidence to the team, so you can say the truth, you can be honest, you can present everything, but when they feel on top of that there is no risk for them, no risk for their works, no risk for the long-term vision of what we discussed during many, many months, no risk on what we can deliver in the future, and maybe more, it's little easier.
Steve, you mentioned earlier on with supporting different businesses. Now, of course, you had no idea what was in the yonder, let's say. But when your leaders, they went out to meet different people such as Rizwan, how were you able to give that message to so many businesses that Chef Middle East is dealing with?
Look, I think it boils down to, the relationships that often the sales guy has with the guy who stands in a kitchen, or the restaurant operator, or the hotel operator. And so it tested the depth or the quality of the relationships that the team had. But you have to trust that they understand why you're asking people to go and remain connected, and that they leverage this relationship that they've built up over time with people. And I mean, we've both used the word trust quite a lot today. I think it's I guess the fundamental basis of any relationship. So I think what we've seen in the last, whatever it's been, 100 days now, I guess, is that, yeah, of course, business has been tough. It's been, we had, I think everybody had this kind of barnstormer of a January, February, and then all of a sudden, we had zero tourists coming to market, or very few tourists coming into market, and we had to look at the world through slightly different lenses. But the one thing I think I could say without fear of contradiction was that the team of people, once we'd conveyed the message about what we wanted to do, that they would go and run as hard as they could to make sure they remain connected, to make sure they can support, help, whatever, facility, whatever leverage, whatever, muscle we have to be able to support those people. Our view was and remains that it's the deepening of that relationship that will stand us in good stead for the future. And as has already been mentioned, I think there's a sense of this will begin to recover. So we've seen some change since the kind of ceasefire was put into place, and I guess the kids went back to school. We've seen the beginnings of some form of recovery, and I think you have to have confidence in the F&B or the hospitality ecosystem beginning to recover, the institutions of government that exist in this part of the world, and the way that they think about hospitality as a key pillar of their economic plan. And the people who run these businesses day in, day out, their determination for it to kind of get back to, if not better than, where it was before. So those pieces, if you like, I think it's being able to communicate that and give people that clarity, but it's remaining connected with those people on the ground. I think it re-emphasizes in everybody's mind just this sense of, this is going to get better. How do I contribute? How do we make a difference with each other to try and get back to where we were or better?
Rizwan, how have you sort of seen or felt support amongst particularly the suppliers that you have within your businesses?
The success of our business is different key and different actors, customer, partners, team, staff, suppliers. And the success can be only sustainable if we align.
Right.
And with suppliers, and I will take the example of Chef Middle East, the most important is to have the same vision and the same values behind the business. Something I will tell you, my experience as an independent restaurant and the one that I have today. But when I was alone, the first thing I did is I called the suppliers, include Chef Middle East. I say, look, it's very simple. I have minimum cash flow. I'm ready to pay some bills, but I need help with a discount. They did it on spot. that was 6 years ago. Helped me to recover, and thanks God the COVID time was very short. So all the strong suppliers next to us was really, they had the benefits of the movement that they did. This time, we didn't have any cash flow problem. We didn't ask for anything. We support our suppliers. We didn't ask anything to any landlords. Because we feel that we can swallow it and help the way that helped us 6 years ago.
Right.
And we are working together since now more than 10 years. We never had any main challenge with them. We have always a good and strong discussion on pricing, on what kind of benefit we can get if the business is there. In difficult times, we had the experience of how we can rely on each other. So for me, that I like to make business like that. And I have different suppliers, but some of them, and I will have 5 or 6, and Chef Middle East is one of them. I like to have this kind of core values together, and we build long-term relation like that. 12 years is not something small. It's a long time.
But you also mentioned earlier something quite interesting that your higher management said, which is about opportunities. So during a time like this, in your perspective, what have been some of those opportunities, whether they are with a business, with the team, or something further afield?
So let's take the internal opportunities first. First is good for us to sit, step back, clean whatever need to be clean, do the things that you didn't dare to do it during 10 years or few years, and make sure that you can go back to something that is more sustainable, calm, and maybe drawing a new vision of what you want to deliver and what you want to execute, how you want to execute that. So that is one of, for me, the biggest opportunity that you can have. The second opportunity is how you address the message to your customer. And we all see that the neighborhood concept are much more relevant in this kind of times. La Nalousa, Chewam, Eugène, all these kind of concepts are working much more during this time. It gives us also some data, and for me it's an opportunity to understand what is the ratio between the local business and the tourist business. It gives you some information to build the future, and to make sure that your flexibility can be adaptable. And yes, the last one is the opportunities on the market, on the business, being a pure player in F&B, and check where we can be relevant, help, take, and maybe grow a different vertical inside our F&B organization. We are focusing on new business. That can be a members club. That can be a different kind of business. Yes, I just announced that we will do something. Yes, we are checking all the opportunities that we can have.
But also, what's quite interesting, Rizwan, is also you're talking about data, and as also Steve also mentioned, of course we don't have tourists at the moment, or very, very few, let's say, but apart from the different sort of business angles that you perhaps are looking at, in terms of the numbers, have they been sort of on a steady incline or more declining for the business?
Right now, we are not in a shape where we are improving our business. We are just managing what can be managed at this stage. But the past events just make us learn that the bounce is in general very strong.
Yeah.
So today, the flexibility that we have in our business and the trust of the team to the company give us this flexibility and make sure that the decline, or I will not say the decline, the difficult moment that we have in the numbers can be supported by the decision that we are all taking together. My target for Q4 are as per budget, so we don't change anything. We think October, November, December will be very strong months.
Very good.
And the numbers that we are doing today are giving us a lot of hope for Q4. So we think that these few months will be clean very, very quickly by Q4 this year.
And Steve, considering the obvious travel constraints that there are specifically within shipments, so on and so forth, I want to go and I want to stick to opportunities. For, when you're talking to your leadership team, what have been some of those opportunities that you've been looking at?
I think they're multiplied. If you take a step back, I think that these types of circumstances, in some ways, benefit or suit businesses who, prior to this type of crisis, have certain characteristics. I wouldn't want to call it sleeve, but maybe it's bandwidth. And that can be in a number of different ways. It can be cash. It can be diversified, diversified demand. It can be, teams of people who've got multiple skills. And these types of circumstances mean that, as I said, you have the bandwidth to think about different types of opportunities when they arise. So whether that be focus on a different revenue stream, it be, exploring different, just quite frankly, being able to substitute one product with another product. So you're having to think about how you source and how you procure and how you bring into these markets a different product that the consumer and the customer can accept and can use and support. So I think all of those pieces are opportunities. And I also think that undoubtedly these types of circumstances, I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started, but these types of circumstances, they are extremely difficult for some businesses. And that may well mean that they suffer, and that will become somebody else's opportunity. Because I think what does happen in these types of circumstances is that market share changes hands, and it's really your willingness to understand how that may happen and how you address those opportunities.
Well, gents, at the same time, I want to get a little bit into leadership lessons that you've both learned over your period as very prominent leaders in the market. Now, Rizwan, for you, hospitality is a big deal. There's a massive umbrella of hospitality, and in my opinion, I think what we do here in the region is some of the most incredible and the very best hospitality in the world. However, for the next generation of leaders, what would be the few pieces of advice that you would give them?
Behind every forecast, behind every numbers, behind every budget, behind everything, there is people, there is member of your team, there is family, and one of the advice is your decision as a leader need to be taken with a lot of clarity, in the calm, wisely, because you will affect people. That for me, it's something super important that the young generation need to take in consideration, and the long-term vision is something that need to drive them. The long-term vision, this is what will drive the business that we are building today. If you don't have any long-term vision, if you don't feel or build something for a decade, it will be super difficult to last, or you will be in a situation where your decision will affect a lot of people.
In the same vein, Steve, what are your pieces of advice that you'd like to give out?
I guess similar in one way. I think future leaders have to be, I guess, they have to balance financial understanding and capability with emotional intelligence. So having this balance is super important. And really just a clarity of understanding about the fact that these businesses are almost exclusively built on the shoulders of people. So understanding that and being able to give trust and opportunity to people inside organizations remains fundamental, because I'm sure Rizwan would say the same, but I think, if I look at the kind of growth of our business over the course of however, since COVID for sure, it's just done on the backs of really talented individuals who work very, very hard. So I think a belief in investing in those people and believing in those people, giving them opportunity, I think is fundamental.
Rizwan, for you, would you be able to tell me and share what is maybe the one or two key leadership lessons that have shaped the way you lead a team today?
I was saying that I think you need to take the good decision, but the good decision that you need to take need to be done in a period of time that doesn't damage anything around you. So I was saying that a good decision is better than a very good decision, but later. I think that it's important. I will say two things. Yes, we talk many times about the trust, but people need to trust on what you are and the vision that you are building and you want to share. At the same time, it's maybe something that we should improve is listening.
Steve, key leadership lessons?
I think very similar. It's a cliche, but we have two ears and one mouth, and we should use them in that proportion. And I think sometimes it's, particularly when you're new to running a team or managing people, there's almost a sense of I have to act. I have to take a decision. And sometimes it's harder but more beneficial to just take a breath and perhaps take another opinion or give yourself another lens through which to look at what that decision. So I think those pieces for me would be important pieces of advice for someone who's coming new to these types of roles.
Well, thank you, gents. Now we have come to the quick fire questions. Now, if you can you get in one word, and Steve, will start with you. So just to give Rizwan a little bit of a head start, what would be one word that defines great leadership?
And I really like the word stewardship. I think it conveys that the leader is a custodian of something that is much more important and much bigger than the leader himself.
There's one for you.
I trust. I will not.
Beautiful.
I will not go too far. But
Steve, most underrated leadership skill?
Listening.
Wow.
Yeah, be the last in the room to speak.
Listening. Let me try to find something.
No, but it's true.
The most
listening.
underrated.
I think this is most underrated. Yeah, both of you have had to make incredibly tough decisions over the years. But if you were to go back to a specific moment within your career, what would be a moment in time that you thought, well, this was an incredibly sort of tough decision for me to make, Steve?
I think it's any time you make a decision that you know is going to impact somebody's livelihood. And trying to get in your own mind some balance between why you're doing that and how you do it. It's difficult.
Rizwan?
Yeah, people. We are in a country where people are expats. So you don't take only the decision on your team members. You're taking a decision on your team members and the family around him.
You can't predict the future, gents, but in your minds, what would you say, apart from the current context and what's going on now, what would you say would be the biggest challenge hospitality leaders will be facing within the next 5 years? Steve?
It's not just the next 5 years, it's the last, forever. It's this kind of war for talent. It's finding talent who you bring into your organisation and are able to, place the responsibility on their shoulders to help you develop the vision, the direction, the energy that you want to build. I think the other thing that this last few weeks has made me think about is maybe this volatility, this geopolitical volatility that we faced is going to become normal or potentially normal. So you kind of have to develop this skill set amongst people that helps them to think about how they're going to manage through these types of situations.
Rizwan, for yourself?
Retain talent. I think that it's quite common for everyone. How we grow with them, give them the skills, make sure that you trust them, and make sure that they can use that in the middle of your organization. So you need to retain them. At the same time, how these people will react to the challenge of the AI. How these people will embrace that, make sure that we live with it. So I think in our business we'll be less affected by the AI. It will be an amazing tool, something that will help us to optimize, make things better, improve menu, improve recipe, improve my all the payment and everything related to finance, HR, and find the right talent. AI will help us a lot, but at the same time, we can see that as a challenge, but I'm sure it will help a lot in our business.
Now, Steve, for yourself, what keeps you optimistic about the future?
This region and in particular this country and its leadership have been almost the epitome of being able to bounce back from difficult situations. So I think that's one piece, and I think we as a country, the ecosystem, the whole hospitality industry, I think will prevail. The other piece is just this kind of enduring belief that humans want to travel. They like to socialise, and they like to be hosted well, treated well. So I think that for me means that tourism will come back because of that.
Rizwan, for yourself, how will you, and what keeps you optimistic about the future?
Basically, during the last 30 years, the hospitality business growth was with 2 digits. And we have so many things and so many countries that are expanding, growing, India, China, many people that will come also in the Middle East or in different parts of the world. So I think we still have a long journey and a long growth experience. So we're talking about the growth, business and money, but at the same time, it will create more jobs, it will create more opportunities in our industry, it will create more, and this is where I relate that to AI. AI will never replace a lot of jobs. Robots will not replace a lot of jobs, I think. At least for the next 5 to 10 years, I hope. but that's my perception. There is a lot of things to do in Africa. A young talent and people that are there. So when I see everything that's happening in South America, India, China, the opportunities that you have in Africa, I think our hospitality business has a very strong future.
Gents, first of all, thank you very much for this fascinating conversation. Now, both of you have been incredible leaders and are leaders in your field, and I think there are two key messages that any hospitality professional, specifically in the leadership field, has to take away, and that is, number one is to put people first. Super important. At the same time, it's about building that trust, and that bridge is incredibly important. So I think we've had some phenomenal insights from the both of you today, and it's been absolutely incredible to have you on here. So really, genuinely, thank you very, very much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
So, ladies and gents, that is the end of our conversation today with our two extraordinary guests. Now, if you'd like to see more of what we do, please make sure you head over to our YouTube page and make sure you press that all-important subscribe button. I've been your host, James Knight Paccheco. Make sure to tune in next time for Culinary Canvas by Chef Middle East. Thank you.